not what we wanted to be talking about today, is it? This is just not the stream that anyone wanted to endure. All right, we've had 2 weeks now coming into today of just bad vibe streams, of just streams that are angry, frustrated, stressed, disappointed, underwhelming, like all of these emotions concerning the Eagles. And we were hoping that after 2 horrible defeats to the premier NFC teams, that a fixture on the road against the Seahawks would be enough to drag the best back out of this team, to put the Eagles back where they belong, to get them digging deep inside themselves and putting on a display that, even if it was remotely average, would bring this team together and start the confidence needed for a playoff run. What we got instead was the most uncoordinated, soulless, disappointing dross I think that we might have seen all season. And we can start looking at it and saying about Jalen Hurts and how he wasn't 100%, but I think even if he was, would the Eagles have won this game? We can look at the defensive coordinator with Sean Desai. We can look at an offense that for 2 drives looked like prime San Francisco with the amount of motion, and then they just stopped. And then everything just became the exact same. It was almost like it was a token. Like they decided to start using motion. They decided to start using all of these things just to prove that they could, just to prove that they can, just to tick the box, keep the naysayers happy, keep the fans happy. And then they can get back to doing what they usually do, which is royally messing everything up. I've not been that frustrated after a loss for a long time. For a long time. And I can't exactly put my finger on why that is. I feel as though genuinely, and look, we're going to start this show off with a relationship analogy that some people, you know, look, they know it's coming. We tick it off. It's another box ticked, okay? That game going into Seattle felt like when you do break away from a toxic ex and your relationship of ups and downs and betrayals and heartbreaks and whatever else comes to an end and you're free and you get out for a week. And then the text comes at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night that they want to meet up. And you go back. Against your better judgment, you go back. And then slowly but surely, despite that night being absolutely tremendous, slowly but surely, it all just starts coming back to you. The reasons why you left, you know, the subtle digs, the passive aggressiveness, whatever it may be. And then it ends up, you lose patience. You end up becoming tired of it because you've endured so much already and you want to leave again. That's exactly what that game to me felt like. That throughout the week, talks of accountability, a padded practice that was extra, guys getting healthy, coaches taking accountability, and a couple of days before they even fly out to Seattle, a huge change at defensive coordinator, one that I still don't really agree with, but hey, it worked in terms of, look, there were changes. It didn't work, but there were changes, okay? And then you get the motion, and you get slants, and you get screens, and it's a mixed offense, and it looks brilliant, and then it just goes away. And it becomes soulless and frustrated, and the leaders on the team start rattling a little bit. And that's like 2 weeks in a row now that AJ Brown has had a little bit of a tizzy. 2 weeks in a row, he's got a little bit frustrated. It's not the first time. Go back a few weeks ago with the sideline spat with Jalen Hurts. He's now on Twitter doing his finest Darius Slay impression. I don't understand where it went so wrong. If maybe we had just been lulled into a false sense of security, whether or not this Eagles team was never really that good, but we just presumed that they could be and held them to a standard that they couldn't accomplish, and it began to spiral out. I'm not overly sure. We'll get to some of your comments. I'm sure they will spark some debates later on. A shout to all of you tuning in. I had a minor quibble. I didn't sort everything on the back end of the video until like 3 minutes ago. So that was an issue. So sorry if it's a bit of a quieter one tonight. But love to see you all here. If you could leave us a like on the video, that would be absolutely amazing. And a shout out as well to Anthony Lara for leaving us a like on Facebook. Again, I can see who likes on Facebook. I can't on YouTube. So you get a little cheeky shout out for that one. Let's go down through the comments then. I'm a broken man, says Isaac. That's a great way to start. That's always a tremendous starting point. It can ever be a late night Christmas gift. Shoot me a DM. I'm trying to think when I'm free. I'm free tomorrow morning. I can do tomorrow. I can only do tomorrow morning. But Yeah, if that doesn't work, I'm sorry. I'm sure we can work something out going throughout the Christmas week and into the new year. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so flaky, Lindy, I promise. Trending in the AM has had 2 really negative shows. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's hard to be positive, I guess, at this point, like about there is not really much that the Eagles are doing to instill any kind of positivity or confidence. And every time there is, it just gets undermined by something completely different. The only things genuinely in that game that I felt were that warranted confidence were the fact that Sidney Brown played really well in the first half. The second half was an absolute stink job. Don't get me wrong. He sucked in that second half. But the first half of Sidney Brown's play was really impressive. And if he can just hone his tackling, there was enough on tape there to be like, the Eagles will have a ball player if they can develop him. Okay? It was a night for the rookies. Keely Ringo looked really good. Eli Ricks, another. Between the two of them, I think they had 5 targets, no receptions allowed. Jalen Carter had a sack. Nolan Smith had a big play. It was a great day for anyone that's a member of that Eagles rookie class. Anyone else, it was pretty dismal. It was pretty dismal. We'll get to this. I think this warrants a conversation. I'm sorry for overlooking your comment there, Anthony. I will get back to it. I can assure you. What? I'm trying to think of a nice, calm way to broach this. But Nick Sirianni entered today's press conference, right? For those that know Nick Sirianni, for those that know this Eagles coaching staff, you know that it is typically a joyous occasion with Sirianni. The day he walked into the Novacare complex, he was being mocked for how positive he was, for how joking he could be, for this silly, almost like, I don't want to say immature, but just very rambly, but very passionate man. You know, he was renowned for being highly energetic, highly passionate, clearly loves football, loves his team. A little bit of pandering every now and again. With wearing like Dallas Sucks shirts or Beat Dallas or whatever it was, okay? You start off at there, and then the confidence builds, and he ends up making comments on the sideline, and he shakes hands with fans, and he makes a passing comments to Chief fans at the way of the stadium as they leave after beating Kansas City. And you go to today's press conference, and he sits there looking like this. Just devoid of positivity, devoid of confidence, devoid of any kind of genuine, like, love for that current situation. And he sits there and he snaps, and I don't want to misquote, because like, this is obviously quite a critical bit of information, but I believe he snapped at Dave Spadaro, who's obviously a member of the Eagles. It might not have been Spuds. It might have been someone else. If someone wants to catch me up on that, Fez. But he snapped at an Eagles reporter asking, didn't you ask me that like 2 seconds ago? This is Nick Sirianni, the most positive, like, Michael Scott level head coach that everyone has a strong opinion of. Some hate him, some love him, because he is just this joyous, bouncy, I love Eagles, I love football, I love my players, we're going to do the game film, we're going to do the practice. And for him to sit there and just look so beaten and just bored and tired. Tired's probably the word. To look tired is one thing. But then to sit there and explain that final interception as a decoy PI. That the reason that Jalen Hurts threw that final pass that was intercepted, that sealed the game, when all they needed was 20 yards for a field goal, they had a chance. They were marching down the field. A field goal seemed genuinely likely at that point. Hurts throws it up deep. It's intercepted. That's the end of the game. And Nick Sirianni's defense is, yeah, but it could have been a PI. Could have also been a 7-yard completion, you bozo, but you don't hear us complaining. You know, it could have easily been a 6-yard out route, but it wasn't. It was a 30-yard lofted pass to A.J. Brown, underthrown into coverage. A great play by Love, it has to be said. But realistically, what defense have you got? Like, just say Jalen made a bad decision. Just say Jalen made a bad throw. All right, he had an off night. He's going to work on it. We know he's better than that. To go, yeah, we called a play, and what we thought in that situation was that A.J. Brown can get a PI. No one is that tactful. There are 15 seconds on the game clock. You are not sitting there going, all right, what do we call here? Brian, what are we saying? You want to call it one of your little shitty screens that go nowhere? No. What about one of your verticals? Yes, but go for the PI. What? Brian, go for the PI. I'm telling you, they'll get a PI. Don't you worry. AJ's going to get a PI on this play. Throws it. Well, what are you doing? I've never heard of a team trying to scheme for PIs. It is one thing for a receiver to go down easily, to maybe emphasize a bit of contact. To pretend as if you're scheming up pass interference draws is it's everything that's wrong with this Eagles team. The lack of awareness, whether it's Slay on Twitter, AJ on Twitter, Nick Sirianni completely failing to read the room and say, yeah, that interception, no, that was designed to happen. Yeah, we wanted a PI there and we didn't get it. That's a shame. That is a shame. It's absolutely barbaric. I've never heard a head coach do that in my life. And if I'm Jeffrey Lurie, if I'm Howie Roseman, I'm stood there looking like Howie in that meme after he's gone to fist bump everyone and he gets rejected. And Howie's gone like that. That's my what are you doing? You are the head coach of this team. You are the one that preaches accountability, that sets the tone for everyone else. And you are going to sit there miserable in a press conference going, yeah, that play, we designed that so that instead of catching the ball and getting a reception, we draw a flag. Counter argument, Nick, and I'll level with you here. Let's just say hypothetically this was your grand design and you thought you were being some sort of wizard and you are an egomaniac and you thought that somehow was a good idea. I'll send you a hypothetical, Mr. Sirianni, okay? What if, hypothetically, in this situation where you are launching a ball 30 yards down the field with like 10 seconds to go to try and get a PI, have you considered that a DB might be slightly aware of the fact he doesn't want to give up a PI and then therefore might not be as solid in contact, and that might be why he even jumped under the route in the first place? Have you ever thought that when throwing vertically down the field with 10 seconds to go, a DB might just anticipate the catch might not be made? Might just, stay a little bit outside the hip pocket and reach in? They're not going to be purposefully as grabby. Has that ever come up in your mind? Like, you cannot game plan for a PI without the anticipation of there being a PI, which means you also have to accept that there is a strong possibility, like most plays in the NFL, that there won't be. What is the average PI percentage? I'm not having it. Right, we're going in. I'm starting a new tab. I'm finding the average PI. Average PI NFL. I'm not having that. What is how long is it called? No, I want to know how many. Damn it. Pass into. I can't spell with one hand, but I want to know how many PI calls are. 15 yards per call. No, that's not what we want. That's not what we want. I want to know, out of all the plays in the world, how many of them have been defensive pass interference, right? Okay, so we can add this total up, right? So we've got. That'll take a long time. But it's at least 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Let's say about 100 looking at that. Okay, about 100. We can all agree. Yeah, around 100. If someone wants to do the math, feel free. So 100 plays out of, right, there are 32 teams in the league and they all play 18 games. Well, they've played 15 games, haven't they? All right, so they've played 15 games. How many snaps has that been? Does someone want to do the quick maths for me there? It's about 10%. All right, so Duck said it's about 10%. So you're scheming up a low percentage play to get a first down, right, with seconds, plenty of time left. Okay, you can easily get to field goal range. But your reinforcement for being aggressive is that 10% of all passing plays in the NFL are pass interference. That you are banking on a 10-1 shot that you get a PI. And I've seen the people, and it's the same people, and I'm not calling anyone out, but there are people on Twitter that will defend specifically Jalen Hurts, no matter what he does, and they follow him from Alabama, and it's a very weird dynamic. I'm not criticizing anyone's fandom, but there's literally tinted glasses that are like, he can do no wrong. And they're saying, yeah, but the full quote's different, and what he actually says is that he schemed up and they knew that it could be a PI. Well, yeah, every play can be a PI, can't it? Every single play can be pass interference. That's football. But if it's a 10% shot, if the deciding factor, which is what it sounds like, between playing it safe and going for it is, yeah, but you get a catch or a PI, it just doesn't. What is that? What gambling logic is that? If my rent is due tomorrow and I'm told, right, you can gamble your rent on one thing in the casino. All right. It would not be a slot machine. It would be blackjack, 50-50 shot. Okay. It would be roulette. Put all the money across 31 numbers. Hope the 30-second doesn't hit. Keeps repeating it over and over again. I would not march over to a slot machine and pound like $1,000 into it, hoping to pay my rent, going, yeah, well, it was a 10-1 shot. Could have left home with 30 grand, leave home with nothing, but it was a possibility. That is ridiculous. And I'm all for analytics in the NFL, but that is absolutely stupid. And I don't know if he's trying to protect his quarterback. I don't know if he's trying to protect his coordinator, but he's making himself look like an absolute bozo in the process. And we'll get to some of your comments. So I'm just going to have a quick slurp. Unfortunately, it's not wine. I wish it was after that game. If you want the PI, then you throw it out long and just out of reach of all the players. Yeah, you don't underthrow it. And maybe that was on Hurts. And look, maybe Jalen Hurts, we cut him some slack for this past game because he was playing through flu symptoms and he didn't travel with the team and he was a little bit under the weather. And I saw someone online say, oh, but I wouldn't have played if I had the flu. That's fine. Okay. But if you are bad enough where you're not going to be at 100%, you have to be aware enough to go, look, I can't do my job today. I need help. Let Marcus start. Like, there has to be that awareness. So I'm not willing to give him that excuse because at some point, either a team official, a doctor, the coach, or Jalen could have stopped that process and it didn't happen. So I'm not willing to go, yeah, but Jalen was ill. If Jalen wants to play ill, Jalen wants to play ill. You die with the consequences, okay? If I want to run around that casino with my pants down and I get arrested, that's the consequence of my actions, isn't it? You know? But just the game overall was a total mess. And we're going to go into a Giants game, okay, where New York are 5-9. Their season is done. They've got Tommy DeVito at quarterback and his agent, and that's a lovely fad. That's a great bit of, TikTok virality there. Sure, that's fun. But at the end of the day, the Giants are 5-9. They've got a mid offense with a backup QB, and they've got a mid defense. But they will smell blood in the water because they've not beaten the Eagles in 4 games. And I guarantee you it's a franchise so petty that they will forget, or they won't forget what happened when the Eagles tanked that game a few years ago, which meant that New York couldn't make the playoffs. And the fans were livid, okay? They're not going to forget that. The Giants are petty. And they would love nothing more than to play spoiler. And there will be blood in the water right now. You can smell it, that there is fear in this Philadelphia locker room. There is discontent. There is a fracture in places. The team leaders are doing anything but leading. The team captains are not leading at all, okay? The coaches are too busy playing a game of he said, she said. Well, he said it'll be a PI, and then I called it, and then Jalen was a bad throw, sure, and Darius Slay's going, yeah, but I did play well. I didn't play in that game, guys, all right? Yeah, sure, the Eagles lost. It wasn't me. It wasn't me, Darius Slay. You can keep my name out your mouth. All right, I'm a Pro Bowler. I'm a Pro Bowler. You're not. I'm a Pro Bowler. You're not. That's the attitude of your team captain after a game. AJ Brown is out there like battling with Lord Brunson on Twitter. Didn't he literally buy a hat from Lord Brunson at the start of the season saying like hurt season or something? Like, I don't get. Like, I could stomach bad play. I can stomach character issues. If you put them together and there is such a direct link, it takes assertiveness and a stern change to rip the rug out and say this ain't acceptable. All right? Jalen Hurts all season has been talking about this mythical thing, this fabled thing called the standard. Okay? He's been talking every presser, we're not playing up to our standard. We're not living up to our standard. We're not committed enough to our standard. What is the standard? Because surely, at this point, having seen it all season long, it's very much the standard, Jalen. And anything above the standard would be a miracle. It would be a festive dream come true. That's not the standard. The standard isn't greatness anymore. It was 12 months ago. The standard now is subpar, uncoordinated, soulless, just wasteful football on both sides, offense and defense. That's the standard. There is no point preaching we're not playing up to our standard, or crying out loud. I would hate to see that they're a little bit lower than what they are now. If the standard's here and they're about there, I don't know what is down in that abyss, but it can't be much further to go. You cannot preach a standard if that has been the average way of playing all year long. That very much is the standard, Jalen, and you're missing it. You're missing your own standard there, okay? Now, if you can be better than the standard, which has been significantly lowered, be my guest. I'm sure we would all love to see it. Hell, fans are begging for it at this point. But it's not going to happen so long as coaches are deferring things, scheming up plays deliberately for PIs, which I cannot get over. That was a quote. Whether it was misquoted, whether there's grander context to it, the fact that you have the gall to sit there in a press conference and say, yeah, the reason we chose that is there was a chance of a PI. Look, I go out every day hoping I might find £1 million on the floor. I'm not going to find it, okay? I turn on my computer every morning hoping that for some reason it magically transforms and unicorns come out of it to grant me 3 wishes. It's not going to happen. You don't scheme up in the biggest play of the game a play purely designed to get a 1 in 10 chance of a flag. Oh, a 1 in 10. 10 passes, 1 in every 10 passes is a PI. And you're making a play. You could get a PI on the short one. In that regard, you could get a PI on the short one. It doesn't matter where the ball is in the field, does it? You can still get a pass interference if it's like 5 yards off the line of scrimmage or 15. If anything, it's easier when it's shorter because you can box out and turn round and someone has to reach in and maybe they disrupt that turn. You see it all the time on curl routes. If anything, there probably was more of a chance because you know they're going for the field goal and you do not want to let that up. If they're going for it all, you're like, yeah, he's not going to get that. And you just sit there and you don't have to throw hands. So that defense is so devoid of logic. It is absolutely stupid. And I'm running out of breath and I'm tired talking about it. I saw a comment earlier today. I will just quickly highlight Drew's comment here. Nice to see you, Drew. He watched a Q&A with Inside the Birds. That last play, according to Avant, AJ ran a bad route. Jalen didn't look the safety off well enough and premeditated the throw. Probably because the offense is predictable. I saw the same thing. And regardless, like, it's not the play that's the issue as much as it is the reason for calling it. And I mean, for crying out loud, if the reason for the biggest play in the game was to go 30 yards deep down the field, if the reason for that was we might get a PI, I can suddenly understand why the rest of the offense is so unbelievably shit. Do you know, all of a sudden it just clicked. Like, if that's the ethos, I'd lob it up to AJ, we might get a PI and we might win the game. If that's the theory, I can understand why the little things they're not getting right. Like screens that go absolutely nowhere. Like vertical passes that go nowhere. Yeah, just unbelievably bland. QB draw, outside zone, pass over the middle, outside zone, QB draw, pass down long, QB. Like all of it, it is predictable when there isn't any motion or anything. And it makes sense if the whole reason, again, was to do that. It's just stupid. Less talented teams gamble for penalties in that manner. There's no way the Eagles are completely incapable. Well, no. And I think the other thing is that like less capable teams will when their stuff isn't on the line. It'll be something that you see like a 3-win team or like the Giants or the Jets or a team like, you know, I'm trying to think of a good one. The Cardinals, probably. They would pull that off to try and do a trick play to shit out a win. Look at the Dolphins a few years back when they beat the Patriots. Like games where there isn't a lot on the line and it's like it's risk-free. It's a bonus bet. It is FanDuel crediting your account with a bonus bet. They can do it. But the Eagles did have stuff to play for. They had a chance to send that game to overtime knowing that you're playing Drew Lock, a poor pass defense, a very poor pass defense, okay, that was lacking Devon Witherspoon. We haven't touched on that yet, okay, and an offense that can't really do much against you, okay? You could go into overtime knowing that you should realistically win that game. You should win that game. And instead, look, go for it all if it's like 4th and 8 and you can't get the field goal. That's when you go for it all. But You're trying to secure the tie, then go for a win. Okay? If you're playing golf, you don't go for an eagle every hole. You take a par. And if your ball lands a little bit closer and you can tap in a birdie, beautiful. 1 under par. Well done. That's a great day at the office. But you can't just randomly start hitting 3-wood from every fairway and going over every obstacle and every hazard and every bunker. You make those risks, you take them when there's a reason to, when you're confident in it. Not just for the sake of doing it when there isn't something on the line. It's wild. 28th ranked pass defense, knew where Jalen was going with that pass. Yeah, I think that kind of sums it up. It was just, I mean, I will say, the one thing we haven't really touched on yet is James Bradbury being bullied on like 3 of the exact same play, being walked back into the end zone. He may as well have moonwalked all the way back down there. I've never seen anything like it. I saw it once and I was like, wow, what an unbelievable throw. DK Metcalf might still be one of the best receivers in the NFL. Then they did it again. And I was like, wow, DK Metcalf, one of the best receivers in the NFL. That wasn't so bad. Sidney Brown was a bit late on the safety help, but that wasn't so bad. I didn't mind that. And then it happened again. And then it happened again. And you're just watching the same play with different receivers lining up to take their shot at James Bradbury, who's like 8 yards off and still ends up getting toasted. It is just ridiculous. You know, like that is beyond predictable. The Seahawks ran the exact same play near enough 3 times in a row, and the Eagles couldn't do a damn thing to stop it. That is nuts. The whole thing. And look, again, I was happy they made the Patricia switch because I thought maybe it will instill some accountability in the defense. Bollocks did it. I was happy that, hey, maybe it might make Brian Johnson get in his bag, pull out some new tricks, which he did for 2 drives. And then it went back to the mundane, same Eagles team. And now they go into these Giants games, they go into that Cardinals game, knowing they have to win out. And they will somehow, realistically, and end up winning. They're going to somehow end up winning these games. And like I said, the past 2 weeks, and I'll highlight Martian, because I know Martian was right. He did call it. But I will say, okay, the same thing I have. They will win these games against terrible teams. And they will give off this energy like the past month hasn't happened. Like it's all some big fan. Like it's a Fugazi, it's a Fugazi, yeah, in Wolf of Wall Street. And like it's not real. It's pixie dust. And they will come out with underdog masks. And Darius Slay will start tweeting angry emojis. And AJ Brown will start retweeting Pro Football Focus stats of himself. And the Eagles will... Jalen Hurts is going to go into a press conference and say something like, yeah, the rock's not hard when the hardest the rock is the hard. And all of a sudden, we're all going to be back in again. Bought into this team. Wow, maybe we did doubt them. Maybe they were this good all along. Or maybe for the final 3 games, they're playing teams that have combined for literally about 3 wins on the entire year. They'll go into the playoffs and they'll get absolutely slapped if things don't change. They will get a wake-up call again because there is a level of complacency here, whether it is overzealous confidence that is causing it, that we are all that we are that good, that we don't need to play up to these teams. I don't know where it's coming from, but you cannot go through a year talking about this mythical standard. We're not meeting the standard. It has been the case for 15 weeks, and 15 weeks of bad play to me is very much the standard. It is going beyond that now. There has to be an underlying reason why all this is happening, and I'm not still overly sure why. I think it is so many things coming together. I think it's a lack of accountability from the coaching staff, as evidenced today with Nick Sirianni. I think there is complacency with the play calling, which I guess will stem at Sirianni. I think that the captains, probably the wrong captains on the team. AJ shouldn't be a captain at this point. Slay, I don't think should be a captain at this point. Genuinely, a better captain in that DB room will be someone like Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard is someone that is a proven leader that has accomplished the same thing Slay has. You don't see him barking on Twitter. You don't see him throwing paddies. You don't see him taken out like he's an immature 13-year-old child. You see him behaving like an adult. He's walked into that locker room halfway through a season when they were winning and has tried to hold them to a standard. And his play not might be there, but the attitude is. And it's the kind of attitude you wish to see in young players. That's what you want to see in a Jalen Carter in a few years' time from now. It's what you want to see eventually in a guy like Jordan Davis, in Keely Ringo. But having someone like Slay, AJ, like Devontae Smith would be a better captain because he isn't, and I don't want to call AJ a diva because that is, I think, a bit far, but he doesn't have that star quality of I've got all this money, wow, ball, buddy ball, this, that, and the other. Like Devontae is Devontae, and he knows he's going to get his, and he keeps himself to himself. You don't see him on the sideline starting on personnel. You don't see him chirping up with DBs the way AJ does because he's bigger and he can. You don't. You just don't see it. You see a young man that's won a Heisman that is very, very similar to Jalen Hurts in terms of personality, that is resolute, that is quiet, that does his talking on the field. You don't see many players. Lane Johnson should be a captain. BG should be a captain. I know these guys already are and have been, but Fletch obviously is another one. But these are players that should embody the soul of the team. AJ doesn't do that right now. Darius Slay doesn't do that right now. It's just bizarre. I don't get it. When the wheels start to wobble, that's when leadership comes in. When things get uneven, that's when strong leadership can dictate a ship. When things aren't going your way, when you're 3 losses in a row and you've been blown out by the Cowboys, blown out by the Niners, and you've dropped a horrible game to the Seahawks, and there are questions from every angle, and there's pressure from every angle. That's when you need the leaders on this team to step up. And instead, they're stepping aside, picking up their phone, running to Twitter and talking about PFF grades or how many Pro Bowls they've got or which fan they're going to beat up. Give me a break, man. When did it get to that? When did it get to it? It's all lovey-dovey. That's the thing as well, is that they're all lovey-dovey when they're winning. It's always the most vocal ones that are so, I love this place. I love Philly. I love Philly. I love Philly. As soon as it goes bad, you never hear the end of it. And it's the type of stuff that you would hear like Ben Simmons level come out. You know, look at the way that Ben was treated and the city stood behind him again and again and again. And he comes out with the comments he did years later. It is the exact same kind of thing. We'll get to some of your comments. Quick gaslighting us, Liam. Our Eagles don't evaluate talent well. I will say that putting square pegs in round holes has very much been a trait for a while. And I think Cranberry is a fantastic nickname, and I'll give you that. But I will say that, again, the only bright spot for me from that game was Keely Ringo playing well, Eli Ricks, Jalen Carter, Sidney Brown. 4 players, 4 rookies. That's the future of the team. They're your cornerstones in the future. You've got 4 years of these guys. Okay? 4 years of those guys. Nolan Smith, another. To make the most out of them, to mold them into players that can be impact stars for your defense. And I have every confidence that a guy like Sidney Brown will. What ruined it are the veterans. And that's the thing when you start kind of throwing that money around. But you're right. Ringo and Ricks allowed 0 yards. They got targeted 5 times between them. How they end up losing snap. I mean, Bradley Roby played okay. I'll say that. I think Bradley Roby really knows, like, he held his own. Kind of separated himself from that little crowd. The linebackers, I thought Nicholas Morrow weirdly played pretty well. But outside of that, just watching it, like the first 10 minutes of that game, where they had like an 8-minute drive on offense, and there was motion, and it was like just carefully crafted. Like there was a well-oiled machine. There was a gentle pass and a run outside, and then a long pass, and then a QB rush. And there was a balance and a rhythm and a direction. And it's like, we all know that NFL teams script plays, okay? The first like 2 or 3 drives are scripted. As soon as they go away from that, and Brian Johnson is left to his own devices, it is like a toddler with a piano, just hammering any old note and go da, 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 da. That's what we've got with that playbook. It is, and then the players don't know what they're doing. You've got Jason Kelce spotting a ball that somehow goes offside, and I'm not even shocked at that point. I don't think it's Kelce as much as it is anything else. But I just do wonder if the hype around this team just got too much too quick. Okay? 2022 was the nicest surprise ever. No one expected an MVP level caliber campaign from Jalen Hurts. No one expected a seismic leap that saw Hurts go from, wow, this kid's good, to, wow, he is a top 5 talent. No one expected the Eagles to take advantage of a very weak schedule, but Howie Roseman foresaw it, built an incredibly talented roster for 1 year only to go after a ring. He gets to a Super Bowl and they fall just short. Jalen gets $255 million. I don't want to use the Christmas songs and the podcasts and the Twitter, but like if you look at the side hustles, I don't think that's probably the wrong term, but the Kelsey Brothers podcast, okay, admittedly, it is a distraction from football. You've got the Christmas album. I love it. I've listened to it. I had last year's. I tried to get it on vinyl. It's brilliant, but it's separate. Twitter, the behavior on there, the national media, press, the coverage. There is so much non-football noise around this team that I wonder that, like, if it's just maybe got involved, if like the confidence, the concentration levels, the commitment levels are down, maybe that's what Hurts meant the other day when he was talking about commitment. And that's not the type of thing I like saying, because I very much endorse like supporting those wider projects and the stuff that is fantastic for the community. And the Kelsey's podcast is amazing. Like New Heights is a brilliant show. It's like one of the most charismatic in the NFL. Unfortunately, then you've got guys like Darius Slay sitting there harping on his own, like trumpet for loads. Just sat there talking about himself and his own achievements. And it just like everyone's caught up. And I don't know if a distraction, how much it's paid. It's worth considering at this point because it is only getting worse. It's only deteriorating. Let's go back into some of the comments. I haven't read many out today. It's a post-game show on a Wednesday, all right? We're going to be ranting somewhat. But if you are new around here, bonjour, comment appel too. I hope you're doing well. Just a quick shout as well to anyone that has liked the show on YouTube today. I can see you've liked on Facebook. Again, that's Anthony Lara. Phil Stifle, as per Mr. Consistent. Kevin Sirapades, so I believe that's his second like in a row. Shout out to Kevin. Said his name wrong, so sorry, Kev. And to Corey Nido, our Eagles writer as well. If you haven't liked it yet and you could on YouTube, it would be amazing. It's the best way to support the show and make sure we can reach as many people as possible. We'll get to some of the comments now. Great content, no respect. Lol, sorry, man. Not all of us are going to hit the panic button over 3 losses. Did the Niners? No. This team can win. Nick can win. Slumps happen. I know it's not been pretty, but you're being dramatic. I understand. And look, that's fine, okay? Fans have different... Look, put it this way. When the Eagles went down against the Chiefs early on, one of our writers was on Twitter, 9 minutes in with left in the first quarter saying, well, that's the game. The Eagles won. I'm not that guy. But I will not, hide from calling stuff out that I don't like, If something starts smelling of roses, I'm not going to pretend it does. If it is actual dog poo, I'm not going to stand there and be like, yeah, that's lovely, man. The great team, go Birds. My job is to be impartial, unbiased, and to try and give you guys the best content that I can and create discussions, okay? I've been panicking about the Eagles since just before the loss to the Jets, realistically. And the people that have been in this show long enough will understand this is not new. That all of the stuff that's being mentioned tonight isn't surprising, and I think that's why it's so frustrating, okay? But when they're 10-0, you can't, or 10-1, you can't critique them because they're a 10-win team. And you don't have bad 10-win teams. The Eagles are great. They're 10-1. How can you argue with 10 wins? Then they're 10-2. How can you argue with 10 wins, though? They're 10-2. They're top of the division. Then they're 10-3. Well, top of the division. 10-4? At what point are we able to start criticizing it? 10-5? 10-6? 10-7? At what point do we look at this Eagles team and accept, hey, this isn't sustainable. It's fantastic you've got 10 wins, but if you cannot back it up, it's substanceless. It doesn't matter until you get to the playoffs, unfortunately. An NFC East crown is lovely. If you get bounced in the first, second round, it doesn't really matter. Okay? I can't sit here genuinely, hand on heart, as a fan first, and someone this has been my life now for 8-9 years covering the Eagles, and say that I'm confident around that team. And I would be doing myself a disservice to sit here and say, no, guys, it'll be fine. I bloody love Brian Johnson. He's going to be just fine. It's just a slump. It's just a little slump. And because then we're looking at The Eagles are 12-point favorites against the Giants. Obviously, they should win that game. If they don't, then there is a thunderous issue. A thunderous issue, you know? Like, so the sky isn't falling down. They'll beat the Giants. They should beat the Cardinals. They should win the division. That's fine. But they'll do it under this pretense of, yeah, shut up, doubters. Yeah, we're class. We're the Eagles. And you all doubted us. And you don't stick by us. And we're very good. No, you're not. The same flaws are there. Just the teams you play aren't able to exploit them. And you're going to get to the playoffs and then we'll learn. If they can get to the playoffs and they can get past San Fran or they can get past Dallas, even Detroit, then I'll be like, do you know what? Fair enough. Maybe I was wrong to be a bit quick. But I'm not going to apologize for holding them to a standard that they themselves have built. Jalen Hurts says it all the time, that we're not meeting that standard right now. Unfortunately, that is no longer the standard, but it is one that was preemptively built in at the start of this year when, having coming off a Super Bowl win, or Super Bowl appearance, I should say, they strengthened that roster like no other team should ever have been able to. The Eagles shouldn't have been able to land Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith in the first round. The Eagles shouldn't have been able to retain both Darius Slay and James Bradbury. The Eagles shouldn't have been able to have Jason Kelce back one more year. All of the pieces fell perfectly for this team to run it back. Perfectly. And the play just hasn't been up to par. So I can't sit here and say, yeah, do you know what? The Eagles are going to be fine. Because the standard that they themselves have told the world that this is who we are now. We're a championship caliber team. We've got elite talent on offense and defense, and we're going to run it back. And that's not there. Fans have every right to be disappointed and every right to be critical. And I'm not trying to single you out and have a go, by the way. So please don't feel like I'm attacking you. Because I just wanted to make that point. Because I know a lot of people are conflicted. Some fans want to be very critical of this team. Some fans want to be more patient and understanding. And I am, like, to a point. But when you don't see when there is no change, you know, it's hard to accept that maybe they are struggling to implement it. Gail Crawford, a shout to you for liking the show on Facebook as well. Again, if you are watching this on YouTube, I can't see your like, but it'll be amazing. We'll set the challenge again if we can get more likes than the Eagles have scored points. Now, the Eagles, of course, had 17 points in that game against the Seahawks. So 17 likes, can it be done? There's 22 of you here. Let's pump these numbers up and see what we can do. Eric is in. I forgot to say hello to Eric, and I'll be, unfortunately, very rude if I didn't. You know what wobbles my wheels? Me not getting a chance to say cheerio, Salim. Good day to the distinguished chap 12. And a good day to you, Eric. Unfortunately, it wasn't as good as we could help. But let's go through some of the other ones we've got. Alex says the philosophy around building the defense is an issue. The devaluing of linebackers crushing the defense as well as patching up with aging vets. Yeah and no. I think the philosophy is there in terms of finding cornerstones. Like someone like Smith and Carter and Davis, you're going to have 4 years for all of those guys, including this year, 4 years where they're all guaranteed to be together without an option, without an extension. 4 years of that play. That's pretty good, okay? The fact that Keely Ringo's there as a developmental name is fantastic. Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown. Like, I've not been as optimistic about a young, like, conveyor belt team of, like, the next generation, this youth infusion coming through, than I have for probably a long time. And I know not all of them have been fantastic, but there is a clear direction there. Whether it's circle pegs, round holes, or square holes, I don't know. But I feel that the stability is there. The issue is, like you say, the devaluing of that linebacker position. And it's the same at running back. The difference is bad running backs can succeed behind good offensive lines. Bad linebackers get humiliated behind bad defensive lines. Okay? If you've got a bad offensive line and a great running back, it doesn't really matter. If you've got a bad defensive line and a bad linebacker, God, you know, you're going to struggle because the defensive line can't make up for it. You can't hide as a linebacker. As a running back, you can maybe break off one big run and you get 70 yards, Miles Sanders. And then that paltry 2.8 yards per carry moves up to 3.6. And that saves you from being viewed as a waste of space in the eyes of most fans, Miles Sanders. But as a linebacker, you don't get that luxury. You get left out to dry. And the Eagles aren't realizing that. Shaq Leonard, for crying out loud, looked absolutely lost. He looked lost. He looked like an old man had snuck onto the field and security had to come on and sneak him off and gone, Oh no! Come on, Shaq. Back we go. You shouldn't be out here, should you, you silly sausage? Come on. Let's get you back inside in the warm. Looked absolutely lost out there. Absolutely lost. Billy Gray, so Bill Gray, thank you for the like on Facebook as well. 6 likes on Facebook today. You guys are flying on the old Facey B. I'm not sure where we're at in terms of YouTube likes, but I'm sure we'll find out shortly. Not 3 straight losses, 3 must-win straight losses. I don't know if they all have been. I don't think the Niners was. The Cowboys one felt like it because of the Niners loss. It was very much a chain reaction, like, oh, damn it. Well, now the Cowboys are 1 back, and if we lose this, they're tied. And it's a momentum thing going into the playoffs, isn't it? And it obviously plays a part in the tiebreak. The tiebreaker. But then this one felt like, well, now they've dropped 2. And this is, like I said, going into Monday night, it was the last chance for us to properly evaluate the Eagles against a playoff caliber team. Now, did the Seahawks make the playoffs? I couldn't care, really. They're a 7-win team. Nearly, they've got to try and get past the Rams. They've got no hope of getting out their own division because the Niners exist. So it's going to have to be a wild card spot. Are they good enough to get it? I don't know. But it's the closest you're going to get. And the closest you're going to get without the Giants or the Jets, if we just go back and have a look to this screenshot from the other day, we'll see 28th ranked pass, the 28th ranked rushing offense and the 15th pass defense, okay? That was the benchmark. That was the last benchmark of the year that we would have, right? Without now seeing the Giants or the Cardinals. And they blew it. And again, it wasn't, this is the thing. I don't want to say it was like a Carson Wentz loss because, again, not the same at all. But Carson Wentz, through 2016, 2017, 2018, was getting away with things he shouldn't have been, right? This fuck it and chuck it that I like to refer to as play of just, screw it, Olshon's up there, send it. Like, it yielded some fantastic plays, some huge touchdowns. Like, the play to Sproles against the Steelers, chef's kiss, all right? It was amazing, an amazing era of football. But if you keep playing blackjack and you win your first down with $10 and then you bet 20, and then you win that and you bet 40, and you win that and you bet 80, eventually you're going to get caught out and you're going to lose. And then you're going to put more money down and you might lose. And that was exactly what happened. The Eagles have not budged from their philosophy and they're continuing to just send and send and send and send. And it is just not working. It's not working. It's failing. It's falling apart. And there is any kind of hint that this is going to change. That's what's frustrating. That every week is the same. Players in press conferences saying they're not at a standard. The coaching staff, they're not at the standard. We're not committed enough. Players bitching on Twitter. They get to Sunday and do the exact same thing they did the week before and go, oh, we lost. I don't understand. I'm being silly. I don't get it. Like, change something then. You know, like the press conference today from Nick Sirianni, for those that saw it, felt so eerily similar to when Doug Peterson had the life sucked out of him, and not in a good way, not by BJ, okay? But just sat there, soulless, tired, annoyed, snapping at a reporter that works for the team, saying, you just asked me that 2 seconds ago. You're not Bill Belichick, buddy, okay? You're not a Mike Tomlin. You're not Pete Carroll. You're not a long-term mainstay in this league that has achieved everything there is to achieve. You've not built some of the best teams. You've been given the best teams, you know? And now the pressure's on. And now you learn how much of a good coach he is or isn't. This is where we learn. And do you know what? Like, I think a lot of us were quite open last year with Sirianni's Coach of the Year, or lack of acknowledgement for that award. Okay, he should have been. He coached a team that made the Super Bowl, turned Jalen Hurts into an MVP. I think maybe now we're seeing we didn't. Maybe now we're seeing what other people saw, in that maybe it just was a very good team. You know, having said that, I'd like to have thought I could coach that Eagles team last year, and seeing Brian Johnson, a man who is clearly way overqualified compared to me, do worse. Maybe I'm not. We'll get to some more of your comments. Where are we at? Bear with me. Stupid isn't the word, but downright atrocious. I've gone too far back in the comments, haven't I? Bear with me. I want to make sure you all get spotlighted here. Chandler's been watching. We haven't spotlighted Chandler yet, so I wanted to shout Chandler out. Thank you for watching. The offense does look better, though. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. The mic's off as well, for God's sake. Anyway, I apologize to Chandler. I thought he said offense, and I snapped, okay? I can't believe that. Oh, that was an all-time PSN moment as well. I will say, Chandler, I was incorrect. I thought you said offense, and I wasn't having it, and I was about to flip. But you said defense, and assuming makes an ass out of you and me. All right, I've assumed there wrongfully. In terms of giving you a great PSN moment, I'd like to think. But if you could just retype like the offense looks better, so I can recreate it and then get a TikTok clip out of it, then we won't tell anyone. It'll be our secret in this. The 23 of us here, it'll be our secret. Yeah. So if you could rewrite it, we'll reenact it. You all laugh and pretend it's hilarious. They do this on ESPN all the time. I'm sure of it. But no, I agree. The defense did look better. Forced several 3-and-outs, held them to 13 points until the final 4 minutes. 1 week under Patricia. I think that there was just more of a desire to expand under Matt Patricia, and I think there was the guy that runs the account, like the Honest NFL or whatever it's called, the one that was apparently an NFL scout and that now just definitely isn't Howie Roseman, that runs a Twitter account. Okay. Put it best and said something along the lines of, I've literally forgotten what I'm trying to think of the guy's name, but something along the lines of like, the Eagles are in defensive situations now where Sean Desai had maybe 1 year of like tape to go back and look at or experience, and he's only played a set few teams as the defensive coordinator. Matt Patricia has got like years worth of defensive coordinator and head coach experience where he's got books of the stuff. And you can kind of dive into these pages and pages and pages and look for things and spot things that Desai can't. Stuff you only get with experience. And I think that much was very clear. What does it mean, Mike muted? Oh, it's gone loud again, isn't it? See, I'm being like absolutely pipe bombed, aren't I now? Ridiculous. There we go. But yeah, like seeing a guy like Sidney Brown playing in the nickel, playing in the up top, playing in the box, like really spreading out his. He played like 60% of snaps, and he played literally everywhere. And that for me is huge because you're moving guys around, and you're still seeing like the blitz disguises. You're still seeing the core values of that Fangio defense. I think it sucked at the end. It got beaten. It really sucked that it got beaten. But I don't think that there was a visible difference. That's the one thing I'll say. There was a clear difference between the Patricia defense and the Desai defense. And I think that was what was needed to just promote a discussion going into this week of, okay, how much of Matt Patricia's philosophy do we carry over? How much of his coaching do we carry over? Is he a better coach? Does he rally the players up more? Like, how much of this do we really dive into for next week? Maybe he takes Sean under his wing. And he lets Sean just assist and they flip the roles. And I think that might genuinely work better. But Chandler is right. Before I walked out the room and thought he said offense. Apologies again for that, Chandler, and for unplugging his microphone. Matty did play a single high safety with Crapbury and man press and no safety help. Yeah, but I think playing Bradbury even with zone and 7 safeties over the top wouldn't help at that point. I mean, James Bradbury has been absolutely disgraceful. And Doug's pointing out something. He says he's calling BS on Patricia being the better coach at the minute. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say that he's the better coach, but I would just say that there was a change in the way the defense worked. Now, did the points reflect it? Against Drew Lock and the Seahawks, does it matter? No, not particularly. Do I think that Sean Desai's defense had weaknesses that were potentially gap filled by Matt Patricia? Yeah, but they came with like issues of their own. So I don't want to put Matt Patricia on this pedestal and say, yeah, he was fantastic. Oh, like it's not the case at all. It still gave up some horrific plays, especially that final drive. It was ridiculous. But I do think the fact that there was a visible change on the field mattered. That's what mattered, was after seeing a year of nothing, after seeing a year of no change and the same thing over and over, to just see Sydney Brown play frequent football was a joy to behold. And that for me was all I needed from that experiment. Like, I don't really care what happens from here on out with it, but we got to see change and know that change can happen. Maybe it lights a fire under Brian Johnson. Something has got to. I could just imagine him sat there, like, you know that meme, like, for those of you that are young enough and are on TikTok, there's a meme of like the old woman in the car going, la, 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 la. That's like Brian Johnson right now, just like caring the world, driving around, looking at all the lights, like not even thinking about it, you know? And realistically, he should be feeling the pressure. And Sirianni should be feeling the pressure. And the fact they're not, it's wild. Locke's not good. I tell you what, Drew Lock did have like 4 or 5 plays that were the plays of his life. And fair play. Like, when that happens, you just hold your hands up. Like that first pass to DK, unbelievable throw, unbelievable catch. Okay? The second one, Brown was a bit late. The third one, no excuse. But Drew Lock was just dialed in for 10 minutes. And it was, as a neutral, you'd probably be buzzing. It's a great thing to watch. As an Eagles fan, you're wondering, like, why is it always the bad quarterbacks? Sam Howell, Zach Wilson, now Drew Lock. Oh, but Patrick Mahomes, yeah, they can beat Patrick Mahomes. They can beat Josh Allen. They can beat Tua Tagovailoa. They've beaten Dak Prescott. But the line stops at Drew Lock. And the line stops at Zach Wilson. And the line stops at Sam Howell. Give me a break. I don't get it. I don't get it whatsoever. Here's the thing, says Isaac. You'd expect your best defender to be able to win one-on-one. It's how Belichick played it. For one, double Metcalf, put your best CB on the lesser receiver. Unfortunately, everyone, Isaac knows literally more ball than the entire Eagles coaching staff. Whereas what we've learned in these past few months is that Isaac and most of us here would have no problem coordinating an offense or a defense in Philadelphia because the others are literally, again, a toddler with a piano, just hammering buttons, trying to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I've never seen anything like it. Johnson's protected by Sirianni and Howie. He has no reason to change because he didn't in the game against a mere defense that was depleted. Yeah, and the thing is, like I said, now, even Brian Johnson's shoddy offense, should be able to put up significant points on the Giants. And there is a reason the Eagles are 12-point favorites against the Giants. The Giants cannot score points. The defense will either allow 3 points or 33. There's no in between. The Eagles should have no problem, like, at all, getting past the Giants. But they will. They will get past them, and then they're going to come out and, like I said, be like, oh, yeah, you all overlooked us. We're so great. We're the Eagles. Give me an E-A-G-L-E. Woo! Right? And then they're going to get bounced. You cannot get anything out of these games. These next 3 games. I don't want to hear about a resurgence. I don't want to hear about how much better things look. Because at most it will look the same, if not marginally improved, against the team. And I swear to God, if they play on Christmas Day and the offense starts 2 drives with motion and moving guys around, and then it disappears again, and it is like the exact same game plan, I will have a problem. I would be absolutely... It's Christmas Day, for Christ's sake, you know? Dude, exactly. Chandler, right, everybody, I would just like to say that Chandler Sampson is now a member of our Core 12. We're now to a Core 14. We've got Buddy Jesus as well. So Chandler's in. He's one of the boys now. That's the insight we need. And that's what I was saying, dude. I put on Twitter literally last week just a rant about Brian Johnson and how bad the offense is. And it blew up, and people critiquing me saying, oh my God, but the defense is like so much worse. And okay, great. Well, now you face a 28th ranked rushing offense and couldn't do anything against them. You face a Seahawks team without Devon Witherspoon. You couldn't do anything against them. You end up throwing plays in clutch situations to try and get PI, and yet offense isn't the issue. Chandler's right. We're all right. Will the Eagles be all right? I'm not sure. You're definitely going to have a problem on Christmas. Yeah, unfortunately. But on that note, guys, I should be around on Friday's stream. Obviously, our next stream will be Friday night. I should be around. I might be a bit tipsy. I'm not sure. It depends. Look, I will update you on Twitter at Liam Jenkins PSM whether or not there'll be a stream. It's just family stuff around Christmas, obviously. But I will try and sneak one in. And if I don't get one out, I'll try and get a video out in its place instead. So there should be some sort of form of content on the channel. We have a core 12 rotating with a core 13th member. Sometimes Chandler, sometimes Winner, sometimes it's Buddy Christ. Ant has been in here a few times. Alex been in here a few times. And a shout again, hey, the core 6 on Facebook. Bill Gray, Gail Crawford, Corey Nido, Kevin Siripades, Phil Stifle, and Anthony Lara. They're the boys. No, they are boys. I know Gail was, I'm assuming, a lady, but again, assuming we're getting into a hole. However you identify yourselves, I appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out and watching the show. Brian Johnson is plays at work, but he refuses to call them. I find that a problem. He literally had the game plan to win, and he imploded the offense. I don't know. Oh, just telling you now, you don't got to do a Christmas Day stream. But I might, because it is Christmas Day. What time are the Eagles on Christmas Day? Let me have a look. They are on at 9:30 for me. Maybe. I'll see. It depends how Christmas goes. But look, okay, if I don't see you before, have an amazing Christmas, happy holidays, however you celebrate it. I hope you have an amazing time with your family and those closest to you. Just, again, thank you so much for watching this show since the start of September. Thank you for hanging out, for giving me your opinions, for all the chaotic moments and listening to all of the fun and the roller coaster debates that we've had along the way. You guys make this show what it is. The comments that you bring about like my lights switching off and the PlayStation and the running jokes that we have, you make this stream so damn fun. So just thank you for allowing me back into your lives. If you want to hang out again, maybe Christmas Day. If not, it will be the Monday following that, which will be, I'm guessing, the 27th. Yeah, the Wednesday, sorry. Yeah, 27th on the Wednesday. So we will see. We'll see how we go. But if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do, because you can stay up to date with all of our streams. We have an Eagles stream essentially every day of the week. Mine are on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. If you could leave a like, again, it takes 2 seconds, but for us, it really just does help YouTube show us more people. I know it looks like the channel has a ton of subscribers. We were vacant for a while because I wasn't uploading, so the algorithm hates us. So we're just trying to rebuild that, community again. So a little like just does help us out a lot. Have an amazing Christmas, guys. I hope you've all been very good boys and girls this year, and I hope you've all get everything you could ever dream of from Santa, including a win on Christmas from the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll hopefully see you on Friday for one last rodeo before we go into that Christmas Day game. But just thank you again for all of your support over the past few months. Enjoy yourselves. Be merry. Hopefully, the Eagles can beat the Giants on Christmas Day, and fingers crossed we can debate it on Friday. But until then, go Birds. Take care. I'll see you soon.